become STM for men in General Assembly Constituency. Election is a decision-making process through which citizens choose their representatives and leaders to govern on their behalf. Electoral participation refers to the various ways based on the cost-benefit analysis to maximize the personal gain. And lastly, the social network and communication model. This model highlights the role of interpersonal communication, that is the media and social network or peer influence on electoral behavior and participation of the voter. The statement of the problem: the Bodumsa Dayun and Lekam, both assembly constituencies, has a heterogeneous population. Despite being a reserved assembly constituency, Lekam, for example, has 95% of the voters are non-APC voters, and Bodumsa Dayun is the only non-APC unreserved assembly constituency in the state. Both the constituencies have seen the trend of external candidates contesting election there. It started in 2009, and these phenomena raise some questions regarding the electoral politics, electoral participation, and electoral behavior of the people there, the voters there. These are the list of the candidates so far which has contested election in Lekam and Bodumsa Dayun. Objectives of the study: the first objective is to study or examine the voters' participation, electoral participation during assembly election. The second objective is to investigate the factors affecting electoral behavior of the voters. Third objective is to analyze the determinants of electoral politics in the selected constituency. And the last objective is to explore and analyze the awareness level and the perception of voters regarding voting. Based on this, these are the research questions. This is the map of the study area, Arunachal Pradesh, the Lekam and Bodumsa Dayun, the polling stations of both. These are the polling stations. I have chosen 10 polling stations from each assembly constituency. The research methodology: the study is partially descriptive, empirical, and analytical in nature. It adopts a mixed method approach combining both qualitative and quantitative data. Both primary and secondary data were used, and the structured interview schedules were used as tool of data collection. The sample size was determined using Japanese formula. The actual sample size was 396, but I proposed on 400 sample size for better representation. Polling stations were chosen based on the assembly election result of 2019, and it was categorized into highest and lowest polling station, voter turnout polling station. And I tried to ensure the representation of urban, rural, APST and non-APST voters. And there are a total of 68 polling stations in Bodumsa and Dayun, 28 in Lekam and 40 in Bodumsa. And out of that, 20 polling stations were chosen purposefully. I divided the number of polling stations in that constituency by the required number of polling stations, and by that 12 polling stations were chosen from Bodumsa Dayun and 8 from Lekam. And systematic random sampling method was used to identify household within the polling stations. I used the interval calculated using house number from the electoral roll, and his grid method was employed to randomly select respondents from each household. Data analysis was done using Microsoft MS Excel and SPSS version 27. These are the organizational structure. First chapter is introduction. Second is electoral participation in assembly election. The third chapter is factors influencing electoral behavior. Fourth chapter is electoral politics and its determinant. And the last chapter is fifth chapter is awareness and perception. And the last chapter is summary and conclusion. Findings of the study. The findings reveal that civic responsibility was one of the most leading motivators for voting in the last assembly election. The majority of the respondents, 90.3%, found voting process convenient during the assembly election, while 6.3% reported it as inconvenient because some of them were of the opinion that the polling station doesn't have facilities like drinking water, washrooms, etc. A majority of the respondents were satisfied with polling facilities. 48% of the respondents participated in political campaigns or related activities, while 46% did not participate in any of such activities. 54% of the respondents were engaged in some form of discussion about election during the process of the election. A majority, 92.9% of the respondents, found candidates and political parties to have some influence on their participation and behavior. Only 29.5% of the respondents found advertisement or awareness program by Election Commission of India or chief electoral officers to have some level of influence on their motivation to participate. A total of 67% of the respondents felt that social media has some level of influence on their electoral participation. The primary motivation for respondent participation in assembly election was their desire to demand rights or benefits, because the situation in Lekang and Bodunsa is very different. The main barrier for electoral participation among the respondents included their lack of interest, or some cited administrative or legal obstacles as well. For example, a non-existing candidate like Joseph Kisan, who belongs from Lekang, he participated or contested elections from Bodunsa because Lekang is the ST assembly candidate. Factors influencing electoral behavior. The most significant factor influencing voters' decision why they voted for certain candidate was the candidate's leadership, as cited by 51% of the respondents. The findings revealed that 69.3% of the voters do not prioritize candidate's party affiliation in voting decision. 45% of the respondents have considered voting for a candidate from another district contesting election there, and 40.8% did not. Among the respondents who considered voting for external candidates, the most significant factor was candidates' understanding of the local issues, as cited